how would you characterize how Alberta has been doing relative to other provinces?
Well, actually, on several of these scores, actually Alberta does better. It's been fiscally more prudent because of even before the pandemic, the Alberta government said, look, our per capita spending, which frankly was too uncontrolled for over a decade in Alberta, our per capita spending on healthcare, education is higher than the other major provinces in Canada, and we need to bring that spending down. So there was an attempt to basically bend the cost curve down by the Alberta government, and that has helped. That's really helped a lot. But what people don't realize is that Alberta was able to balance its budget earlier, not just because of the higher oil prices, which did happen, no question, that was a big boom to the economy, but also because they controlled spending. And they, in fact, if you take away the oil price increase in 2020, in the previous year, not the current year, Alberta would have, well, let's put it this way, Alberta would have not been able to balance its budget the previous year had it not been for controlling spending as well. Alberta's debt now as a share of GDP is only 11%, far less than all the other provinces in Canada. If you include the federal debt and Alberta's share of that federal debt based on GDP, its share of GDP, it's more like 69%. So not as bad as the United States or Canada as a whole, but still we have to remember we have a share of that federal debt as well. We also have to remember we don't include all the debt in the
Private debt.
No, all the public debt.
Public debt.
Because there's unfunded healthcare. We will be responsible for those expenditures that are going to be needed to support the population. That's like another debt that we have right now that we're not saving for necessarily for the future. Alberta, though, is better off, a little bit better off, because Alberta has a younger population, at least on average. It's the median age in Alberta is about 2 or 3 years younger than the average for Canada.
The UCP party has talked about that they inherited a challenging situation from the previous NDP government in terms of public finances. Is that true? Was there a particular challenge that we inherited in 2019 when Service took over?
Well, I actually like to go back sooner. I don't think it's just the NDP. I like to go back to the last years of the Klein government. I'd like to especially talk about the Stelmach government, because I think Alberta should have, during periods of very high oil prices, had allowed spending to go up too much. In fact, that's one of the biggest problems for Alberta, is that when oil revenues come in, there's no cap on spending, like keeping it as a share of GDP government. And then, of course, the sky fell with the price of oil dropping from $100 down to $40 by 2015. And there, the NDP government, they did face a difficult time, but they still ran deficits. And what was worse is that when they came in, they had all these promises to raise taxes on the people that generate wealth, generate income, and create jobs in the economy. Raising the corporate tax rate from 10 to 12%, I would argue, was a huge mistake. They undertook a royalty review that in the end didn't raise royalties, but it created a lot of uncertainty just at a very bad time. There was no attempt to try to constrain it. And so as a result, the deficits continued and still was quite large. And per capita spending by the province on education and healthcare was still running 30 or 40% above other provinces in the economy. Maybe 30, 40 is not quite right, maybe it's 20, but main point, there was no change.
Right.
It was no different than what happened in previous governments in Alberta.